Sirach chapter 22. The idler is like a filthy stone, and everyone hisses at his disgrace. The idler is like a lump of dung. Anyone who picks it up will shake it off his hand. It is a disgrace to be the father of an undisciplined son, and the birth of a daughter is a loss. A sensible daughter obtains a husband of her own, but one who acts shamefully is a grief to her father. An impudent daughter disgraces father and husband, and is despised by both. Like music in time of mourning is ill-timed conversation, but a thrashing and discipline are at all times wisdom. Whoever teaches a fool is like one who glues potsherds together, or who rouses a sleeper from deep slumber. Whoever tells a story to a fool tells it to a drowsy man, and at the end he will say, "What is it?" Weep for the dead, for they have left the light behind, and weep for the fool, for they have left intelligence behind. Weep less bitterly for the dead, for they are at rest, but the life of the fool is worse than death. Mourning for the dead lasts 7 days, but for the foolish or the ungodly it lasts all the days of their lives. Do not talk much with senseless people or visit unintelligent people. Stay clear of them, or you may have trouble and be spattered when they shake themselves off. Avoid them, and you will find rest, and you will never be wearied by their lack of sense. What is heavier than lead, and what is its name except fool? Sand, salt, and a piece of iron are easier to bear than a stupid person. A wooden beam firmly bonded into a building is not loosened by an earthquake. So the mind firmly resolved after due reflection will not be afraid in a crisis. A mind settled on an intelligent thought is like plaster decoration that makes a wall smooth. Fences set on a high place will not stand firm against the wind, so a timid mind with a fool's resolve will not stand firm against any fear. One who pricks the eye brings tears, and one who pricks the heart makes clear its feelings. One who throws a stone at birds scares them away, and one who reviles a friend destroys a friendship. Even if you draw your sword against a friend, do not despair, for there is a way back. If you open your mouth against your friend, do not worry, for reconciliation is possible. But as for reviling, arrogance, disclosure of secrets, or a treacherous blow, in these cases any friend will take to flight. Gain the trust of your neighbor in his poverty, so that you may rejoice with him in his prosperity. Stand by him in time of distress, so that you may share with him in his inheritance. The vapor and smoke of the furnace precede the fire, so insults precede bloodshed. I am not ashamed to shelter a friend, and I will not hide from him. But if harm should come to me because of him, whoever hears of it will beware of him. Who will set a guard over my mouth and an effective seal upon my lips, so that I may not fall because of them, and my tongue may not destroy me? Sirach chapter 23. O Lord, Father and Master of my life, do not abandon me to their designs, and do not let me fall among them. Who will set whips over my thoughts, and the discipline of wisdom over my mind, so as not to spare me in my errors, and not overlook my sins? Otherwise my mistakes may be multiplied, and my sins may abound, and I may fall before my adversaries, and my enemy may rejoice over me. O Lord, Father and God of my life, do not give me haughty eyes, and remove desire from me. Let neither gluttony nor lust overcome me, and do not give me over to shameless passion. Listen, my children, to instruction concerning the mouth. The one who observes it will never be caught. Sinners are overtaken through their lips. By them the reviler and the arrogant are tripped up. Do not accustom your mouth to oaths, nor habitually utter the name of the Holy One, for as a slave who is constantly under scrutiny will not lack bruises, so also the person who always swears and utters the name will never be cleansed from sin. The one who swears many oaths is full of iniquity, and the scourge will not leave his house. If he swears in error, his sin remains on him, and if he disregards it, he sins doubly. If he swears a false oath, he will not be justified, for his house will be filled with calamities. There is a manner of speaking comparable to death. May it never be found in the inheritance of Jacob. Such conduct will be far from the godly, and they will not wallow in sins. Do not accustom your mouth to lewd ignorance, for it involves sinful speech. Remember your father and mother when you sit among the great, or you may forget yourself in their presence, and behave like a fool through habit. Then you will wish that you had never been born, and you will curse the day of your birth. Those who are accustomed to using abusive language will never become disciplined as long as they live. Two kinds of individuals multiply sins, and a third incurs wrath. Hot passion that blazes like a fire will not be quenched until it burns itself out. Those who commit incest with their near of kin will never cease until the fire burns them up. To the sexually immoral, all bread is sweet. He will never weary until he dies. The one who sins against his marriage bed says to himself, "Who can see me?" Darkness surrounds me, the walls hide me, and no one sees me. Why should I worry? The Most High will not remember my sins. His fear is confined to human eyes, and he does not realize that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. They look upon every aspect of human behavior and see into hidden corners. Before the universe was created, it was known to him, and so it is since its completion. This man will be punished in the streets of the city, and where he least suspects it, he will be seized. So it is with a woman who leaves her husband and presents him with an heir by another man. For, first of all, she has disobeyed the law of the Most High. Second, she has committed an offense against her husband. And third, through sexual immorality she has committed adultery and brought forth children by another man. She herself will be brought before the assembly, and her punishment will extend to her children. Her children will not take root, and her branches will not bear fruit. She will leave behind an accursed memory, and her disgrace will never be blotted out. Those who survive her will recognize that nothing is better than the fear of the Lord, and nothing sweeter than to heed the commandments of the Lord. Sirach chapter 24. Wisdom praises herself and tells of her glory in the midst of her people. In the assembly of the Most High she opens her mouth, and in the presence of his hosts she tells of her glory. I came forth from the mouth of the Most High and covered the earth like a mist. I encamped in the heights, and my throne was in a pillar of cloud. Alone I compassed the vault of heaven and traversed the depths of the abyss. Over waves of the sea, over all the earth, and over every people and nation I have held sway. Among all these I sought a resting place. In whose inheritance should I abide? Then the Creator of all things gave me a command, and my Creator pitched my tent. He said, "Encamp in Jacob, and in Israel receive your inheritance." Before the ages, in the beginning, he created me, and for all the ages I shall not cease to be. In the holy tent I ministered before him, and so I was established in Zion. Thus in the beloved city he gave me a resting place, and in Jerusalem was my domain. I took root in an honored people. In the portion of the Lord is my inheritance. I grew tall like a cedar in Lebanon, and like a cypress on the heights of Hermon. I grew tall like a palm tree in En-gedi, and like rose bushes in Jericho, like a fair olive tree in the field, and like a plane tree beside water I grew tall. Like cassia and camel's thorn I gave forth perfume, and like choice myrrh I spread my fragrance. Like galbanum, onycha, and stocti, and like the odor of incense in the tent. Like a terebinth I spread out my branches, and my branches are glorious and graceful. Like the vine, I bud forth delights, and my blossoms become glorious and abundant fruit. Come to me, you who desire me, and eat your fill of my fruits. For the memory of me is sweeter than honey, and the possession of me sweeter than the honeycomb. Those who eat of me will hunger for more, and those who drink of me will thirst for more. Whoever obeys me will not be put to shame, and those who work with me will not sin. All this is the book of the covenant of the Most High God, the law that Moses commanded us as an inheritance for the congregations of Jacob. It becomes full, like the Pishon, with wisdom, and like the Tigris at the time of the spring harvest. It fills up, like the Euphrates, with understanding, and like the Jordan at harvest time. It pours forth instruction like the Nile, like the Gihon at the time of vintage. The first man did not know wisdom fully, nor will the last one fathom her. For her thoughts are more abundant than the sea, and her counsel deeper than the great abyss. I came forth like a canal from a river, like a water channel into a garden. I said, I will water my garden and drench my flower beds. And look, my canal became a river, and my river a sea. I will again make instruction shine forth like the dawn, and I will make it clear from far away. I will again pour out teaching like prophecy, and leave it to all future generations. Observe that I have not labored for myself alone, but for all who seek wisdom. Sirach chapter 25. I take pleasure in 3 things, and they are beautiful in the sight of God and of mortals: agreement among brothers and sisters, friendship among neighbors, and a wife and a husband who live in harmony. I hate 3 kinds of people, and I loathe their manner of life: a pauper who boasts, a rich person who lies, and an old adulterer who lacks sense. If you gathered nothing in your youth, how can you find anything in your old age? How attractive is sound judgment in gray-haired women, and for aged men to possess good counsel. How attractive is wisdom in the aged, and understanding and counsel in the venerable. Rich experience is the crown of the aged, and their boast is the fear of the Lord. I can think of 9 whom I would call happy, and a 10th my tongue proclaims. A man who can rejoice in his children, who lives to see the downfall of his foes. Happy the man who lives with a sensible wife, and who does not plow with ox and ass together, who does not slip with the tongue, and who has not become enslaved to an inferior. Happy is the one who finds good sense, and the one who speaks to attentive listeners. How great is the one who finds wisdom, but none is superior to the one who fears the Lord. Fear of the Lord surpasses everything. To whom can we compare the one who has it? Any wound, but not a wound of the heart. Any wickedness, but not the wickedness of a woman. Any suffering, but not suffering from those who hate. And any vengeance, but not the vengeance of enemies. There is no venom worse than a snake's venom, and no anger worse than a woman's wrath. I would rather live with a lion and a dragon than live with an evil woman. A woman's wickedness changes her appearance and darkens her face like that of a bear. Her husband sits among the neighbors, and he cannot help sighing bitterly. Any iniquity is small compared to a woman's iniquity. May a sinner's lot befall her. A sandy ascent for the feet of the aged. Such is a garrulous wife to a quiet husband. Do not be ensnared by a woman's beauty, and do not desire a woman for her possessions. There is wrath and impotence and great disgrace when a wife supports her husband. Dejected mind, gloomy face, and wounded heart come from an evil wife. Drooping hands and weak knees come from the wife who does not make her husband happy. From a woman sin had its beginning, and because of her we all die. Allow no outlet to water, and no boldness of speech to an evil wife. If she does not go as you direct, separate her from yourself. Sirach chapter 26. Happy is the husband of a good wife. The number of his days will be doubled. A courageous wife brings joy to her husband, and he will complete his years in peace. A good wife is a good portion. She will be granted as a portion to the man who fears the Lord. Whether rich or poor, his heart is content, and at all times his face is cheerful. Of 3 things my heart is frightened, and of a 4th I am in great fear: slander in the city, the gathering of a mob, and false accusation. All these are worse than death. But it is heartache and sorrow when a wife has a rival, and a tongue lashing makes it known to all. A bad wife is a chafing yoke. Taking hold of her is like grasping a scorpion. A drunken wife arouses great anger. She cannot hide her shame. The haughty stare betrays a sexually immoral wife. Her eyelids give her away. Keep strict watch over a headstrong daughter, or else, when she finds liberty, she will make use of it. Be on guard against her impudent eye, and do not be surprised if she sins against you. As a thirsty traveler opens his mouth and drinks from any water near him, so she will sit in front of every tent peg and open her quiver to the arrow. A wife's charm delights her husband, and her skill puts flesh on his bones. A silent wife is a gift from the Lord, and nothing is so precious as her self-discipline. A modest wife adds charm to charm, and no scales can weigh the value of her self-control. Like the sun rising in the heights of the Lord, so is the beauty of a good wife in her well-ordered home. Like the shining lamp on the holy lampstand, so is a beautiful face on a stately figure. Like golden pillars on silver bases, so are shapely legs upon steadfast feet. My child, keep sound the bloom of your youth, and do not give your strength to strangers. Seek a fertile field within the whole plain, and sow it with your own seed, trusting in your fine stock. So your offspring will prosper, and, having confidence in their good descent, will grow great. A prostitute is regarded as spittle, and a married woman as a tower of death to her lovers. A godless wife is given as a portion to a lawless man, but a pious wife is given to the man who fears the Lord. A shameless woman constantly acts disgracefully, but a modest daughter will even be embarrassed before her husband. A headstrong wife is regarded as a dog, but one who has a sense of shame will fear the Lord. A wife honoring her husband will seem wise to all, but if she dishonors him in her pride, she will be known to all as ungodly. Happy is the husband of a good wife, for the number of his years will be doubled. A loud-voiced and garrulous wife is like a trumpet sounding the charge, and every person like this lives in the anarchy of war. At 2 things my heart is grieved, and because of a 3rd anger comes over me. A warrior in want through poverty, intelligent men who are treated contemptuously, and a man who turns back from righteousness to sin. The Lord will prepare him for the sword.